30 conservation meeting for November 15th, 2022 is now open. And I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes for November 1st, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, let's go with the new public hearing. Under the West Bridgewater Comprehensive Stormwater Management Regulations, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on November 15th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. in the McDonald Brown Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, on the general stormwater management permit request at 855 North Main Street for the installation of concrete pads and utilities for 8 new mobile home sites. Okay, it's all you.
Do you want to pull it up on the screen? Or do you want me to just talk from here? All right, so we have,
I don't know if anybody's up.
that's fine, 8:55.
I'm fine right here.
There's no other people on there, right?
Nope.
So, 8:55, West Bridge Landing, I believe is what it's called these days, mobile home park, near the Brockton line.
That's right out front, right?
This is right out front, yes, so, well, there's this still not developed.
Yeah.
And then it's right behind that, not developed.
Oh, okay,
So
just
it's
right
not
behind it,
quite
alright.
on the front, it's still on the park.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is still North Main, and then these are the 8 units. To meet the stormwater requirements, I have all our erosion control notes. We did roof recharge to the best we could with the little bit of room we have and the trailers that we've got going in there. Catch basin, inlet controls. And that's it. It's one of those cookie cutter kind of plans,
So
driveways.
why are they so close compared to the other ones? Is it just something new that nowadays you can do, or is it just
Because he had us do cookie cutter style mobile homes, there's no difference in sizes. So you see the different sizes
Yeah.
of each of the mobile homes. These are the one size fits all at the moment. They aren't gonna get any bigger, but they may get smaller. So we're showing
So-
you the worst case scenario.
so the lots compared to the other ones are smaller?
They're not lots.
No lot.
They're just spaces, they're just,
Oh, okay, so that's how they consider it.
yeah, it's not, it's all one.
Even if the
Yeah.
other ones have yards,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
that's how they go, huh?
You park and that's it.
yeah,
That's all you got in the front.
yeah.
So that's how they can get away with this smaller.
So is our consideration in terms of stormwater, is
This
that
count
any
as
different because of
40
this type of thing?
All we're really dealing with is the impervious surface that's being created.
Yeah.
So basically the unit themselves in the driveway and where that runoff will be going to.
Okay.
And that,
So, right, to mitigate the roof recharge, the roof infiltration is being proposed in between each unit for the impervious area there.
Okay, so where does it end up running off to?
The slope generally goes that way.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm upside down and backwards, so that way.
And this is all
So-
gonna go into the road,
Road drainage systems, correct,
and
whatever's left.
just wherever there is.
So what's under the trailers? Is that all impervious or
Ye-
crushed stone or
I'm told it's gonna be a concrete pad.
Yeah, concrete pad.
all the way up?
All the way up.
No, just underneath each
Underneath
one,
each
right?
individual unit, not
What's in between?
grass. There will be lawn, put the driveways in the front.
Little sliver of lawn?
Yeah.
Again, these are larger units than they may actually install, but this is the worst case scenario.
Okay.
Hopefully, we don't go to this worst case scenario. We're gonna have some smaller version with little decks and.
But if it doesn't go to worst case scenario,
This
it's still okay to, with the stormwater and everything like that?
right, because the stormwater system they're proposing is big enough to handle all,
So,
so a smaller one, actually, it'll be overbuilt.
Yeah, but
yeah,
that's
Okay.
but worst
demonstrating
came to worst,
compliance
it'll
with the
still
worst
be
case.
all right.
Correct.
Okay, you guys got any?
No. I'm all set.
Tim?
But my only question I was going to ask, the roadways, are those private or town?
I thought they were private.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought
I
that
was
was
just-
too.
Yeah. You know, I think that's private.
Because usually I think they have somebody in there plowing it, like a landscape company and stuff like that, I've seen in there.
Yeah, because he keeps changing the road names and over time.
Okay.
and This is private.
Right, because the roadways are already in place, he's not doing anything new to those.
No,
so
nothing
those-
new. Nope.
Just add.
Just adding to the.
Right.
Yeah.
So is this all the space that they got in there after this?
Oh no, I'm sure he'll find a little bit more here and there.
There's
out
a,
front.
yeah, a couple more in a few
Yeah.
corners,
Yeah,
nooks
I'm
and
sure he'll find
crannies.
corners and nooks and crannies.
But
Yeah.
he's almost maxed out what he's got.
And if this happens, when are they, is it supposed to, everyone, when are the trailers supposed to come and,
That I don't know.
okay.
I know they prepped with one of them in here and then stopped because they needed to get this permit, so they're probably ready to go.
Demand is high. I
Yeah,
heard.
they're probably ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, nothing else, nobody else up there, Jason, you got anything?
No, no, thanks.
Can't even see the plan.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing,
I'll make that motion.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Then a motion to issue a general stormwater permit.
No special conditions.
Just the erosion control,
Yeah.
silt fences,
Yeah.
general.
Standard
Standards.
stormwater permit.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night. Fast as I've been here. Now if my car will start, I'll have a great night.
Why you need a jump?
It died on my way out of the office.
Let me
That's
know,
not
I
good.
have a jumper.
I have
I get jumper cables too.
I have cables and I have a bolt, so wish me luck.
All right, see you
Have a
then.
good night. Thank you so much.
You too, thank you.
Okay, we'll go to continuing hearings, 35 United Drive.
I have received a request for continuance till our first meeting in December. They're still working on updating plans and meeting with the planning board. So
Okay.
35, now 38, and 35, now 40 would all want to be continued.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue to next hearing.
And I believe it's
December,
the 6th of December?
Entertain a motion to continue to the 6th of December.
make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the next one, Lincoln Street and West Center Street,
Hopefully.
general stormwater management permit.
Yeah. Hopefully we're
I'm
done.
here, Stephanie McDonald with McMahon. We will need a continuance, but I wanted to just get a couple ideas thrown out at you guys. So we have just a small, so with the mounding analysis and the proximity to the house that's the closest by, with the mounding analysis, it shows that within 100 feet that the water level would be raised. So we're wondering if the commission is open to providing like an impermeable liner that would essentially go the depth of, I guess it's approximately anywhere between 2.5 and 5 feet below. It's kind of what they use in septic systems or something if we were going to line like a basin so that no water would penetrate through, and more of it as a barrier. So that would prevent it from that side of the along the resident side, and then it would have the 3 other open sides.
So you just want to put down the lining to prevent it from going through the mound quicker, or not to have it go through the mound?
So that it will not, so that the potential for it to seep through, like, to essentially a lateral movement of the stormwater would not penetrate into that property.
So it would just be on the property side then and not actually in the entire basin?
Correct, yeah, we would put it,
Okay.
something, yeah, to prevent it. I don't know, exactly, I haven't really thought of like where, but it would be on our property. I'm assuming you're the owner.
Oh, no,
Oh no, okay.
I'm on the commission.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's okay.
So yes, it would be, so prevent any potential water, stormwater that would, so from the mound, right, it's coming up from the center and then it's gonna dissipate out, potentially. So prevent it from going onto that property, which is the closest, you know, like with the house and obviously, but it would be I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Would you think it would be going over the mound, or is it just basically going through?
So the mound starts at the center of the basin. We have a rectangular shape.
Yeah.
It's okay to have like an 8-to-1 side, so it's long and it's short, right? So essentially the water's going to be along the long side and go down. It's not just gonna sit in the middle. You know, it's not like the middle has like an actual pond, but when you, like a low point, it's not like a sag in the middle. You know, it's elongated, but the elongation is perpendicular to Lincoln Street, right?
Yep.
So the short side, the way that the calculation is run, the short side, it shows like there's no water seepage anywhere. But if you use the long side, because it's so much more area, it's showing that it has the potential to creep further along. You're looking at, it's 200 by 30 feet, right? So the 30 feet, it's not going to go out that much, but the 200 and that elongated is into Lincoln Street and into essentially the private development, right, onto that roadway area.
Okay, so because it's
So
so long, it would do that. You think?
Say that again?
Because it's so long, there's a potential that it would seep through.
Potential.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's going to go in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
It would be extended towards Lincoln Street and towards the private developments like driveways.
Yep.
And not the other. So as a precaution, I just switched because it doesn't give you, they call it the X and the Y axis. So the X axis is long, there's no issue. There's no issue when the X is the short, because you don't do the Y.
Yeah.
But it's only looking at one axis. Then when you do the Y as the longer it is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of confusing in how it's manipulated anyway. So I was just taking a worst case scenario, and there is a potential for the groundwater to rise when you switch the numbers. So, you know, I've been doing a lot of just looking at the mounding analysis and what these parameters are, and it's just a long basin. The model takes it from the center, but in actuality, there's this other piece. And then we're not even counting the forebay, which is another like 30 feet in the direction of Lincoln Street. You know, so but also the, you know, water table varies, and the amount of space so there's a lot of factors that don't play into this parameter. So giving a worst case scenario when we switch it, which technically we don't have to do, but they're not looking in that direction, there's the potential for that. So this was just something that we were thinking of as an option. Otherwise the other option would be, which we've been doing, is to go into to have two basins, and we'll have divert to two different amounts of stormwater. The thing is, we're just having so much stormwater that originally, as you guys know, was just country drainage right off to the sides. Now we're collecting all of Lincoln Street and basically putting it into one basin. So we're just getting a lot of water into that area. I've gone through many iterations. We're having some of our overflow into the site development basin. So, you know, anything extra we have, which is oversized, right? So we're accounting for these overflows. It comes down to literally we have a large volume that's potential, you know, that can come into this area. So that's kind of what we're dealing with.
So I have a question on that. So I totally get what you're saying. And so, you know, if you kind of think of it like a football field, right? So the idea is that the amount of water coming out the end zone is little, but if you take that and now you almost, 7 times that, now you have that longer distance, so the potential for more water coming out on that side closest to the house is increased. And so you're saying the liner along that side would help prevent in the worst case scenario. Is that correct?
Correct. So it
So-
prevents it from going, yes, to that side.
So my question then is how are you going, so is the barrier just for water that would be on top, like of the surface that actually hasn't seeped in yet? But I'm trying to picture like what's gonna prevent the water from going around the left and right edge or the bottom edge and still coming up through the mound and continuing the flow?
Yeah, so it'll essentially, right, so it could do that, or it could, essentially it's gonna act as a wall, right? So it hit there, and then yes, it can go down further, so, and I would look into, like how deep it would have to be. I haven't designed that part yet.
I know we're still spitballing here.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's just a thought, I just wanted to run by you, and I can also run it by Alan and Major. This was kind of just like, talk to them about it yet either, but, the fact that, yes, so it's almost like it hits a wall, so it's gonna go the opposite way, like it hit this, it can't do, but it can go anywhere, it can go up, wherever there's space, essentially, is where it's gonna go.
So with it
And
being,
so-
oh, go ahead, sorry, Jay.
Sorry, Lee, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so I'm wondering then if taking this barrier and maybe wrapping it around the ends a little bit, I don't think it necessarily has to go all, 30 feet or whatever that you were talking about versus the 200, but maybe like 15 feet around each end. And then maybe even taking, and again, I'm not sure of all the codes here, so, but, the bottom level of the basin, what if it was actually had some sort of, slant, and obviously at water, we're only talking, like a quarter of an inch for every, 8 feet or whatever traveled, just enough to get it to float, and that was diverted like away from, so the slant was actually higher on the property side versus the construction side, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, and so that kind of plays also, I guess there's another option, which is, so this is a redevelopment project. So for the standards, we can meet it to the maximum extent practicable. That's the state standards. And also it's stated in the West Bridgewater stormwater standards, they conclude with that. So this is all for essentially like recharging and infiltrating, which is a great thing to do for the area. The other option, I guess, could be along that lines of like provide a liner below the basin, essentially, to not infiltrate anything. So then it's all detained in the basin, and now that we have that connection to the private development's basin, which is their space, right? We've been communicating and have their hydrocarbon analysis that would be connecting, that additional flows could go into there if our basin couldn't suffice our 10-year storm event.
So you're basically asking if we're adverse to it or not. And
Right, if we would
personally,
entertain
I'm not.
the liner.
Yeah.
plug. And I do have some information as far as the neighborhood and water table and levels. Most of them, the house directly beside it is concerned more with the amount of road runoff that's entering their property than subsurface water coming up.
Yeah.
Because right now, when we get a heavy rain, their whole front yard floods from off of the road because there's no drainage on the road to collect that water.
Right.
So with this project, hopefully, it will alleviate a considerable amount of stormwater runoff from the roadways.
Sure.
I know the road up on 106 will be getting wider. There'll be more impervious surface,
Whole new road.
but it'll also have drainage.
Yeah.
And Lincoln Street will have drainage, which it doesn't now.
And to your point, so yes, and in the smaller storms, then if this is the case, the neighbors will definitely see an improvement, right? Our basin can handle that. You're not going to see the seepage like that for, so this is so a typical storm, I mean, a lot of water is like a 2-year storm. It has a 2% chance of happening every year. So it happens a lot, right? There's 2%, sorry.
Every year.
Not 2. Yeah. Yes, there's 2% chance of it happening. So those are less frequent. It's not like our rainstorm we had the other night, right? And I didn't check all the rainfalls or whatever, but to take it like that, they're going to see it's not going to go on their yard. It's going to be collected in the system, which is new. It's going to be put into the basin. There's a forebay, and then it gets into the actual basin where it will infiltrate. So that's great. We're talking about larger storms, and so with the larger storms, they'll see potential for when the basin fills up. It's actually shallower now because I'm just going through all these iterations to work on this like mounding and how we can get more water away from the area. But essentially that's what it is. So there's the potential again, and so basically if it's like a drought or something and you get a big rainstorm, right, you're not going to see it because the land needs it. There's all the water levels like super low. But if it's like 2 or 3 heavier rainstorms one after another, then that's where there's the potential. And who's to say when that can happen? These year storms, it's like out of 100 years, so like a 10-year storm has more of a chance to happening, but it's not like a 100-year storm or something more catastrophic where there'd be bigger issues. So, but these are all standards. We have a little bit of flexibility just because this is a redevelopment. So again, it's the maximum extent practicable. We've been trying to, abide by as much as we can, but we're at this point and, we're almost there. It's just a couple things. So if there's some wiggle room, some flexibility, if you guys have a preference, that's just what I'm trying to get the feelers for as we try to finalize this and close it out.
I think, well, if you were to line the whole basin to prevent anything from leaking out down the road, would that...
You're just going to push that water to somewhere else and not have it infiltrate, which the whole purpose of the basin is to slow it down and infiltrate it into a larger area into the groundwater.
So
You want a section on the end.
So the liner itself is not something that's going to be able to infiltrate through it slowly. It's just going to avoid the water to go somewhere else then.
Yeah, so there's 2 liners. So the first liner that I was talking about would be like a vertical liner along some place, so it's preventing it to get into that property specifically. X amount of feet deep, again, to act as almost like a wall for water not to penetrate through.
Yeah.
The second option would be just to line our basin so that no water would infiltrate at any time.
Yeah, and it would just go somewhere else then. Yeah, okay.
So option
Right.
1 is kind of...
Or you'd
the
end
one-
up with a combination of things. It'd be a wet basin, not a dry basin.
Yeah.
Right.
And you'd have standing water for longer periods of time,
Okay.
and you'd be pushing it off to somewhere else further down which...
Right, and it's also for a 10-year storm, so
True.
we're not talking a daily in and out, week to week kind of thing. It's what happens if there's a massive water.
So I
True.
guess option 1 is
I mean,
seems reasonable.
it seems like it would do the effect of what it's supposed to do.
Right, it's
To help the
preventing
homeowners.
a quote-unquote breakout of water into the neighboring
Well,
property.
Stephanie said there's a potential for it to happen. And this
Yeah,
would just
but
cut
Right,
down
but
that
if
potential
they
to
design it
happen.
and the soils are built right below it, it's gonna
Yeah.
percolate into the ground before it
Right.
goes down and then pushes itself
That's
up
right.
again.
That's
And
right, yeah.
if you're slowing it down with a barrier that's designed at the right height,
Yeah.
then you get that much more time for it to infiltrate into the ground and not
Right.
break out sideways, so.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah, I mean, it's an idea.
I would assume then, yeah, that would be a
So
good
it-
idea then.
If you can work
That
with the
would be
consultant to come up with the actual height of the impervious barrier, And as like Jason said, having it go a little bit further around either corner to slow down the breakout on the sides.
Yeah.
If that would be an acceptable, workable option, I
Yeah.
would recommend that.
Does this barrier come up so it looks like a wall? Do you see it, or you
Kinda.
underground?
Well, it would be underneath the soil layer. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like when we have the septic systems that get designed with the impervious breakout layers with them.
Yeah.
It's to keep it from, that's to prevent something going into the groundwater,
Yeah.
not necessarily for the leaching purposes, but same principle.
Exactly, yes.
So that would be a possible to be able to do then, no problem then.
So
Okay.
we continue.
Great.
I think we have no problems with that then, yeah. So we'll just, can you get the information all done and everything by the next meeting, you think?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have everything together, and obviously we'll run it by Alan and Major, and just to let them know that we had this conversation at the meeting, just to talk, and you're okay with the idea, and that we'll get the specifics that they can look at for sure.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing till the, what was it?
December 6th.
December 6th.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Opposed, so moved. Okay, I guess you're all
Thank you,
set.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Stephanie.
Okay, the next one is off West Street, off Old West Street.
And I can give an update for that one. I have, one more trip, I think, out to finish walking up the whole entire line. They have updated the plans that they submitted to me with, actual elevations on most of them now, so I can actually check what's presented. So I think the next meeting, I'm gonna submit a few questions I have to them in the next couple days, and we should be able to, be done with it, hopefully.
At least the delineation.
Yeah, at least
There's a lot of,
Yeah.
lot of flags
I don't
out
know what they're
there.
gonna do out there, but
Yeah. So, all right, so, Jason, you got anything?
So you're not going to answer any questions if you have any.
Anybody else got any questions?
None from Goddard's end. We're just gonna wait Tim's comments, and we look forward to closing this out. So thank you for the update.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to, well, continue to December 6th.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Opposed, so moved. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
I'll be in touch.
See
Thank
in a
you.
couple.
Thank you.
Next one is six lamppost lane for the certificate of compliance request. Is that the first one there?
And this one is for just the general stormwater permit. They didn't have anything else on the site that was for DEP or town wetland bylaws. Everything's all in place, the system's all installed, everything's been built according to specs.
Is that the first one? No, which one's that?
6.
Is that the first house there?
It is the first one on the left.
First one, okay, on the left there, all right. That's
And-
with that pond that's right there.
Yep,
Skating.
but that's part of the roadway easement, not part of the house.
No, I know.
But everything else is all in place, as built is done. So I recommend issuing certificate.
All right, issue, a motion to issue a general stormwater COC
For 6.
for 6 Lamppost Lane.
I'll make that
Sorry.
motion.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
So opposed? So moved. Okay, the next one is 9 Lamppost Lane for a certificate of compliance.
And this one is further down, and this one had the town bylaw involved in it because of where the wetland was in the yard. And everything's been built according to what we had issued. Their order conditions is all set. Markers are all in place, everything's there. General stormwater, everything was built and in place. I checked it before they covered it, and they're all set on that one as well.
Okay, so entertain a motion to issue a general stormwater certificate of compliance for 9 Lamppost Lane.
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
so moved. And also a motion to issue the certificate of compliance.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Okay. And the next one is 586 Manley Street.
And those are on there just as a continuing update. They are moving forward with their purchase and sale stuff and just working on documents. So as soon as they get everything put together, we'll get requests. So I would just continue both until
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to continue both that are on the agenda.
586.
586 Manley Street.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Okay, and then just the miscellaneous and sign some papers.
we'll have some documents to sign. I do have a request for 53G payments for Armory. That's for the 3840 Manley Street reviews they've started doing.
You're gonna need signatures for the certificates. Or have you done it already?
That one for the DEP for
All those houses sold over there, or are they in the process?
on the what?
Lamp post.
They've got, well, the reason we need to do these two tonight is they both have closings coming up.
Okay.
And looking at it, they've got, all the house lots are in,
Yeah?
and they're doing the finished grading on most of them, so I would assume that within another couple meetings, we'll have the rest of them coming for.
Despite rates, they're
closing.
still selling.
But going forward, most of them, the first one and the second one on the right seem to be the only two that have a higher elevation. They tried to keep the lots.
Looks like there's people, no one's in there though.
The first one on the right.
First one on the
That's
right,
the
yeah,
first
I
one,
was
yeah.
up there the other day and it looked like.
Yeah, they've got these two and one other one that are ready to have people move in.
I wonder what the difference is in price of the first one selling and the second one selling. I wonder if it's changed quite a bit, considering.
Hard to say, yeah.
I don't know. I wonder what that first one went. Well, would that first one not? Does that go for like 8, almost 8, or 8?
Might have been.
It's crazy. So,
Anyway,
all right. Any any other thing to talk about?
Nope.
Carol does.
oh,
Um,
that's right, yeah.
Carol has.
Yeah, if it's possible, I would like us to talk about the, the Russo proposed complex and what, the walking paths. I would like to know what we know about what John Delano did to give his, okay, what he did.
So, part of when the Russo's property came up for town to purchase it, there were questions about what was there and what was on the site and what was usable and wasn't usable. So John did do some research into that, finding out what portion, which the front portion was usable. There was a man-made irrigation pond on that, and on the plans, for this intergenerational recreation area, they're looking at using that pond area and keep it as a pond area. Rehabbing it and cleaning it up and redoing it. They also have walking trails that, John had ID'd some areas on the plans. They're close to where they'll really be, but until the actual engineering happens, the idea of those is supposed to be walking trails. And I do have some pictures if you want to see of the.
Kind of how it would look, yeah.
Oh.
Looks like,
okay.
So, let me see if I can.
That looks like a lawsuit ready to happen.
Interesting.
a little bit like,
Screening.
Doesn't look like a very good
Beaverton
place
Woods.
to, yeah.
some
So,
sections.
these were pictures I took today of the bog bridge that we put in at Beaverton Woods.
Yep.
And this is conceptually how the idea would look at the new location. Depending on where it is, these ones, because of, and if I can look through them. Try this. Bring up. There's one that is. So these, depending on the time of year, are in water. So they've got what they call duckbill anchors. So they're anchored so they can float and move. And then they drop back down when the water level subsides. So they're not going to float away on you. And then you just go back up, lift them up, and reposition them where you're going to walk. These have been there 10 years.
What are they, mounted to the
Has it
ground
been 10
somehow?
They're
years
not mounted to
since
the
we
ground.
did
They're just
that?
sitting on
Unbelievable.
pressure-treated timbers and pressure-treated boards to walk across.
It's been 10 years.
And they've been 10 years on that site, and that's how long we've had it. And
Yeah.
they've held up pretty well. There's only a couple that are starting to show,
That's all it's, and they don't float away, huh?
and they,
No.
with the duckbill anchor system that we used,
What do you mean by that?
well, they use them to guide trees for supports, but they're aluminum or stainless steel wires that go into the ground.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you
so
anchor them
they-
in.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And because of the way they are, they have give, so they
Okay,
can
yeah.
float and move, and they won't float downstream on
So
you, or you don't have to go and find them all.
They are anchored to the ground, but they just got leeway to.
Right,
move,
but
yeah.
they're a surface, I mean, they can make them that aren't anchored.
Yeah.
You just, this site, there are some pictures that I found that showed them that they do travel.
No, that's
I
pretty
mean,
good
there's
though.
quite a bit of water
Yeah.
that does get into that area. Let's see if I can. The other thing was, let's see if I can find bridge. And that's the bridge that the AmeriCorps volunteers built for us
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And again, this is built, all the material was carried in by hand, so, and then assembled in place. So the same theory type of project could be done on Lincoln Street, where you wouldn't have heavy equipment or construction equipment needing to get in there to do a project in a wetland. It can be carried in piece by piece and assembled
And the
in place.
same one that Kevin and I did up on.
Yeah.
Right, up on the rail
We just brought it all in
trail,
and did it right there.
right.
See, my question with all this is, none of this has been gone by the commission to pass it.
Yeah.
And so when we vote on it on December 5th, right, it's, we
So
don't-
it's
we don't
being
know if
presented
it's been-
conceptually as this is what they want to build.
yeah,
But
and
until
so,
the plans are actually finalized and actually engineered drawings and everything else, and it goes through the building inspector and the Conservation Commission, and each person reviews it, the exact is not set in stone. So,
For the whole thing, you mean?
for the whole thing,
Yeah.
I mean,
They're allocating money, but
So until that.
So
right,
it-
just like when the school came before us, it was, okay, we want to spend money on a new school, and then the design phase went through, and this is the plan we're gonna use, but there were things that changed and tweaked along the way.
So we'll change the
But-
stuff as it comes in front of us.
yeah.
Right.
But if we don't permit it, it's gonna go away.
No, because if it comes in front of us, we'll just make sure we have that happen.
Well,
Or-
that's what I wanna know, see, I'm not sure that we hadn't looked at it, so.
Well,
But
we don't-
conceptually, would we approve a project such as this?
Yeah.
John looked at it thinking that it was gonna be passive recreation, not four-wheelers, not dirt bikes.
Yeah.
It was gonna be more passive walking trails.
So we'd be asking those kind of questions, and see, I wasn't sure, I was wondering, is this something that we would have, would we be able to pass or not? And so that's why I'm wondering.
It's only conceptual, but they can't take it away, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
No, we wouldn't pass it.
Well, no, that's, when we vote, it's, you wanna explain it?
Well, the town is being presented with this project to fund, and it's being presented as it's all gonna happen.
Right.
Carol came and asked, well, what would happen if the Conservation Commission found that the trails weren't doable? And the town had voted expecting to get it, and now, because of what we find, they couldn't. But doing the site work that John did and the engineer has done, they feel that
Can be done.
it could be done if approached in the right manner. And so we just have to see the plan to be able to prove
And
how
I
they're.
guess if we couldn't do it, you
And
would do
it's, it's not gonna be ADA compatible, which this isn't either,
it. Right.
that we have at Beaverton Woods. There are sections of it that are, and we have the rail trail in town, which is accessible,
Yes.
if we were looking for an ADA spot. But knowing that where this is located, that to get to be that, we could never engineer that. I mean, it would
It's
be,
not gonna be paved or anything.
right, you'd have to
like
have
that.
paved surfaces and railings
Yeah,
and all
and
this
see, I
other-
don't have the history that you gentlemen have, about this kind of
Yeah.
going to the wetlands. We've always talked about, well, you can't disturb this. And
Well, I
you
mean,
can't
we could
disturb
actually
that.
go in there and just, like we've done before, just cut the brush and
Beaverton,
lay,
we-
And I gotta
lay
admit, I
the-
walked in there today and kudos to whoever's been doing it, but it's pretty well maintained.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Really?
you
Okay.
could- Yeah, I walked one end to the other back and.
It was
parked
pretty
on one end.
wild when we first went in
Yeah,
there,
it was,
remember?
but it's definitely a walkable trail between.
If this was doable, I mean, that can be doable
Okay.
on Lincoln
Yeah.
Street, because like, just go in there and cut the brush.
So it's pretty good, we might be able to pass it.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
I would assume so, yeah.
okay.
I
Just-
mean,
I'm
there
just wondering.
is wetlands in there, but
That's
it's,
what,
But you can
I'm
walk,
concerned
you can
about,
walk
yeah.
in wetlands
That's
too,
right,
so
that's right.
this is
Right.
basically walking over it. With just boards, you might as well consider as like that right there, pieces
probably
of wood.
turtles in there, I don't know.
And the pieces of
Might
wood,
be,
it's just all natural stuff anyways.
yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yep.
I just didn't know what was gonna happen.
but How it goes.
So the other thing is there's a big water thing, what do you call it?
The retention pond?
Well,
And I didn't know if we had any purview over that.
they've got an irrigation pond on the site that they want to, the plan is to kind of rehab it into a water feature in the middle of the park. I don't know whether it would actually be usable for anything other than just a pond to look at. I mean, it wouldn't be that deep.
No.
It's really not something you could get
Not a
into.
skating pond.
Use it for ducks. Let the ducks
Yeah,
sit
I
in
mean, if people weren't using it in early spring, you might have ducks coming in to nest or something, but,
Yeah.
the way they're gonna hopefully design it, it's gonna be not goose friendly, so that
Yeah.
the geese won't be showing up,
Yeah.
but,
So the question is, will we be asked as the commission to review that, anything they want to do there?
right, which it'd be similar to what we just approved for, Walnut Street, Angel's Gardens,
Yeah.
where they were enhancing the pond the wetland area that he had in the middle where there was already a pond.
And that was used for irrigation too.
Right,
So-
and so this could be the same thing, where they could enhance what's there, clean it out, and then design a planting around it that would be more beneficial
Yeah.
to what's there versus,
I mean, we'll review the drainage and all that when the plans are done. They're not done, so.
Right. So, but that will also become before us,
And is
that
that,
body of water?
that's not considered as wetland anyways, right?
Man-made.
It's a
well, it is
man-made.
designated as a wetland,
Oh, it
but
is, okay.
again, you can rehab it. I mean, I've seen sculpture parks made around wetland areas.
Yeah.
You could keep a pond there. You could, by cleaning it and getting any debris or whatever that's in it, and having a walking area around one side of it and leaving the whole back side open, you're actually gonna improve what was there. But
That
it's just
whole-
all how they engineer it and what
Yeah.
we allow them to permit to do it. I'm thinking that probably, my guess is it's not gonna be part of the drainage system. It's gonna be a separate, so it's not like they're draining anything into it. It's gonna be just itself.
Full looks.
Right.
Thank you for all the backstory, all of you. It's helpful.
When they did the baseball field area at the high school, and they say it's wet, I'm thinking, well, if we improve the drainage, why is it still wet? I mean, is it not functioning the way it should? Or was it sufficient,
Or was it more water when it falls, considered it goes down that way?
I think they always knew in the beginning that spring season was gonna be a wet spot, but I think because of the amount of rainfall we've been getting, they're finding that it's even wetter than they had ever expected. And there's no real way to get rid of the water from it because of where the water table is.
Yeah.
So the only way
you would have had to
fix
build
is-
that whole
right,
thing up,
build up the whole entire site to,
but they didn't, so
right.
I don't know why.
In a way, it got,
Well, then they would have had to
it
have
would-
created more drainage
yeah,
systems
big time.
and swales to be able to handle it, because you couldn't shed
There's
that
a
water off.
swale around the outside.
Right.
Is that a construction swale or permanent? Remember, it ran around the whole thing.
I don't know.
I think there is a perimeter one, but it's very minor compared to if you raise that 2 feet, what you'd end up having to create to deal with all the runoff.
That might be a
Yeah.
thought when we look at the price. You were on the committee, though.
Yes. Yeah, I
So
came
did they-
late to the party, but
Did they talk about, instead of turfing it, just build it up, or?
right,
as
to
an
build it up to
alternative?
increase the drainage, so, and with a turf field, you don't have to go up as high as a grass field
Yeah,
because of the drainage system that you're creating underneath of it. So you'd be,
Okay.
and generally within half an hour of a rainstorm, you can play
It's
on the
gone.
field.
yeah.
Where now you'd be having to tarp it and uncover it like they do at Fenway or somewhere to play on it, or you just would postpone the game
I
for the
wonder
day.
with the drainage, if it's still gotta go somewhere, so I wonder how they're gonna design that drainage, where it's gonna go, but.
Just like the surface parking lot drains, one end would probably have a
Out into the wetland.
large basins or whatever underneath to hold it and then let it seep in and
Disperse
filter it
it,
through.
Yeah.
But it's,
Something we learn from each time something happens like that.
So,
I guess that's about it.
motion to,
Anything else? Jason, you got anything?
I just have a question on the structure that Stephanie was talking about.
Yep.
She said in front of the basin, there was, what, a forebay?
it's called a forebay, and it's like it's a drainage structure that pre-treats part of the water that comes running off at a higher
Okay,
rate, and it slows it down, cleans it a little bit, and then dumps it in to the larger surface area, which will slowly dissipate over time.
okay.
and I think
Just as
they
a
clean it.
random question, do you have the spelling of that? I was trying to look it up and I wasn't getting what I was expecting.
The number 4.
Yeah, I think it's the number 4 in BAY is how they.
Oh, B-A-Y, oh,
Yeah.
forebay, okay.
F-O-R-E, no? I don't know.
All right,
All set? All right.
all I got.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye,
So
aye.
moved. Okay, thank you.